Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Thomas. Tonight we're back here with Green Scorpion. Tonight, well, hope you got your paintbrushes ready because we got the top 10 video game battle painters. Whew. Don't know why I nearly screwed up. So basically, these guys use the arts and a brush to basically make the canvas a victory, I guess. I got nothing really else to say. It's the best way I can describe it, huh? Anyway, so let's see who managed to paint the best picture of victory. Be sure to like, subscribe for more. Hope you enjoy. Let's go. Here we go.
Hello everyone, the Green Scorpion here, and welcome to Week 4 of Weapons Month 3. When constructing these lists, I consult a personal database of video game characters that I've constructed over the years, looking for fighters who fit a certain criteria.
Fair enough.
When I do that, sometimes I notice a weird gimmick in a character's style that isn't so rare after all. At one point while working on Weapons Month 2, I came across an exciting revelation. There are a lot of characters who fight by painting. Not only that, there are enough for me to construct a list. There's really not much to introduce on this one. Like with my previous musician fighters list, these next 10 individuals have learned to weaponize an artistic medium in a variety of unique ways. Same rules apply, preferring characters who hold their own in combat, only games I've played, only one per franchise, and anyone whose chief weapon is paint or painting. And as always, the character has to be a product of video games, so I can only give an honorable mention to Epic Mickey. Now, it's tabula rasa here, so let's begin. These are the top 10 greatest video game battle painters.
Sorry? Here we go. Oh. First. Up. 10.
At the last minute, I had to make a sudden death choice for number 10. Both of which are extremely odd picks, but hey, this is an odd list. The contestants were Beat from the Dreamcast cult classic Jet Set Radio, and The Blob, a titular hero of a Wii exclusive. Neither are particularly combative, but they fight in a similar situation. In a world of tyrannical rules and regulations, they fight against a system through artistic expression while dodging the police. In the end, I went with The Blob. Not only does he have some light combat sections, I imagine that he could probably wreck some enemies if he really tried. The Blob is actually composed of paint, and can change his hue around the color wheel. When his world is overtaken by the Inked Corporation and succumbs to drab grayness, our hero takes to the streets, spreading color and displaying some excellent parkour abilities, without legs! The Blob also, though silent, has a puckish personality and, well, he reminds me a little bit of Zack. Yes, there's no League of Legends character on this list and I'm going into withdrawal!
Sounds about right. Poor Oscar. Can't go on this without mentioning them, could they? Number 9?
Bowser, I love you, man. You're one of the greatest video game villains of all time, even if you're rarely successful. You formed a formidable empire that has threatened the Mushroom Kingdom for 3 decades. But your spikiness? Just a consideration. It might be time to retire and leave the villainy to your son. Since his first appearance as the King's Son in Super Mario Sunshine, Bowser Jr. has been spearheading most of Bowser's calamitous operations, particularly in the new Super Mario Bros. Series. He's also modernized boss fights. Bowser still relies mostly on his size, but Jr.'s bringing in huge robots and weaponry that really dates the old Koopa King. And though he's since put it away, his career got started thanks to a special paintbrush. Invented by Professor Elvin Gadd himself, this brush is what lets Bowser Jr. realize his plan in the first place, most importantly allowing him to disguise himself as Shadow Mario. He also uses it to cake Isle Delfino in all kinds of gook. Some of it looks like oil, some like chocolate, some can set fire to meddling plumbers, and others have electrical properties. And somehow enough of this can actually cause statues and entire buildings to collapse into the ground, or spawn little jelly beasts and giant piranha plants.
Oh, yeah, I remember
It's
this.
pretty powerful stuff, and I would probably put the tyke higher if he didn't trade it in for the shiny war mechs. Oh, and he plays tennis and baseball with it.
I mean, fair enough, but I guess he just ran out of paint or something. I don't know. That or Bowser's took it away. Am I right?
I had a few choices from the Kirby series this time around. And while Paint Roller made an interesting case, Adeline from Kirby 64 is just too cute.
Fair enough.
Adeline is what I like to call a paint summoner.
help.
She paints something and it comes to life. Throughout most of Kirby 64, Adeline helps Kirby out by painting healing items or presenting a clue to a puzzle. But when you first run into her, things are a little different. Poor Adeline is possessed by dark matter and fights Kirby by painting a variety of enemies and sending them into battle while she hides behind her easel. I love her cheers and jeers in the background, though. When her paintings fail, she steps in to punish Kirby herself. Yeah, that doesn't go so well. What you might not realize is the Crystal Shards is actually the second appearance of our beret-wearing friend. The first was in Kirby's Dream Land 3, an often overlooked game on the Super Nintendo. In this game, she is called Ado, and some fans dispute that these two are the same person, but I'd say it's pretty obvious that they were meant to be. Adeline's Japanese name is Adorinu, so Ado would be the logical nickname, maybe it's just a translation error. The SNES boss fight plays out very similarly, with a dark matter-possessed artist deploying troops. This time, however, they are even more dangerous and all resemble past Kirby bosses such as Kracko, Mr. Shine, and Mr. Bright. This is probably the most arduous boss fight in the game, but it's hard to stay mad at that face. And may I add, I adore her boss music from Crystal Shards. It's just so perky and fun.
Too bad she got possessed. And luckily for girl Adeline, managed to make it a return with Kirby Star Allies DLC as one of these special guest helpers. So really gotta find some time to get back to, you know? Anyway, so read down, let's see who was making else. I was making it. You know what I mean. Sometimes I have trouble with words, don't I?
So imagine I'm an evil cultist wizard in the Castle Crashers world. Those pesky knights are coming for my tower, so I need to assemble a crack team of bosses at my last defense. So who do I pick? Well, the Winged Necromancer and the Undead Cyclops are pretty good picks. But just to round out my ranks, I'm going to hire the Painter. Some weird guy in overalls with a toolbox for a head. Sure, Adeline can stir up ice dragons, but the Painter commands legions of bland Newgrounds projects. Yeah, this is a good plan. Castle Crashers is known for some bizarre bosses, and I'm not sure if I could call the Painter the weirdest, but he's definitely up there. He talks in the Microsoft Sam voice, he vomits food, and his music, like Adeline's, is oddly catchy. In the fight, he stays up on the scaffolding until you get rid of each wave of doodles, and when he comes down to make more, he remains calm despite the damage he's now soaking up. I don't know why the evil wizard hired this guy, but I'm pretty glad he did.
Yeah, fair enough. Gives you an entry. Next, number 6.
Just missing the top 5, we have Bronner, the main villain of Castlevania Portrait of Ruin. There's actually a specific reason why I put him here, but let's get the story and powers out of the way first. Bronner is a vampire who has used his powers to retake Dracula's castle, though he is one of the few series villains that isn't trying to resurrect the notorious Count. After losing his 2 daughters, Bronner had a mental breakdown, which led him to kidnap and brainwash the daughters of veteran hero Eric Lacarde. And when opposed, he killed Eric Lacarde. A beloved hero from the 16-bit era struck down? Yeah, this is personal now. Bronner lavishes the castle with his own works of art, which serve as portals to different locations. He can also encase himself in a painting for a quick escape, bring his painted abominations to life, or just muck up the room with deadly blood-red acrylics. But why do I really like this guy? Take your seats, because it's time for a history lesson. You see, Bronner actually kind of existed in real life, even if he never really turned women into zombies. He's based off of Victor Bronner, a sculptor and painter in the mid-1900s. In history, Bronner was Jewish-Romanian. In-game, it is said that his daughters died in World War II, so there is a more dramatic tension if you know that they were really Jewish. And since he's a vampire, it's very befitting that he shares a home country of Vlad the Impaler himself. Bronner's works were mostly surrealistic, which totally fits some of the baddies Bronner sends at you. The real Victor Bronner lost an eye in 1938 during a violent argument with Oscar Dominguez. Look at his artwork in the game. He wears a monocle. He only really seems interested in improving the vision in his right eye. Maybe the left eye is a fake? Most notably, this game takes place on March 12, 1966, the same day Victor Bronner passed away. Spoilers.
Oops.
Even if he isn't the best battle painter in gaming, he happens to be the most prolific painter on this list in real life, and the only one based on a historical figure. Well, that is, except for number 5.
Speaking of whom, let's get him out of here. Sorry, Bronner. Would have loved to see your artwork. What one he made? I'll have to look it up.
Number 5 goes to Madai, making him the 4th Dynasty Warriors character I've used. I'm not even a big fan of Dynasty Warriors, really, but Madai is actually the reason why I'm writing this list.
Oh?
Way back when I wrote Top 10 Spear Wielders, I looked through the entire cast of Dynasty Warriors to look at all the choices, and for the record, I know Lu Bu uses a halberd, which isn't the exact same thing as a flipping spear. I don't care, so stop telling me!
Shut up!
Anyway, while thumbing through the Chinese generals, I saw Madai and his giant paintbrush, and I thought to myself, hey, he fights with painting. That reminds me of Adeline. And Bowser Jr. So I tried out the character more, and it turns out I like him a lot. He appeared in a lot of games, but only started being playable in Dynasty Warriors 7. The cousin of the royal heir, Ma Chao, Dai follows his cousin as an ever-loyal friend and servant. His unwavering optimism in the face of danger is very refreshing. Normally this kind of character can get irritating, but the difference is that Ma Dai is fully aware of how dire things are. He just keeps up a pleasant demeanor to keep up morale, and when the chips are down, you'll occasionally catch a rare glimpse of his serious, less patient side. He wears a pretty awesome, if completely dorky hat, and apparently the designers gave him dark wavy hair to symbolize his inner darkness. At a glance, it might look like he's using some kind of dark magic against his enemies, but actually his magical paintbrush is always dripping with a pitch black ink. Again, I know that ink isn't the exact same thing as paint, but there is such a thing as over-distinction. Pterodactyls aren't really dinosaurs, tomatoes aren't exactly vegetables, halberds aren't exactly spears. You gotta go with the effective sometimes, not the technical. And effectively, Madai is pretty amazing. Aside from crazy melee skills, he can blot the air to zone large groups. His attack can also draw tigers, dragons, and phoenixes into the air, which can stun foes for longer juggles. Great personality, great design, great fighting style. Sounds worthy of the number 5 spot to me.
Hey man, it's definitely got the style for it. And for number 4, let's see what you got. Scorpion Oscar.
I mentioned that Beat was almost going to be on this list, but you want to know why Beat didn't make it? Because A Link Between Worlds came out and we got this guy. Yuga looks like he would have been more at home on the Spellcasters list, but this Warlock brings to the table a secret art only known to the Lorule. Even if you haven't picked up this game yet, you probably already know about Link's new ability to turn into a drawing and run along walls. It's a very cool mechanic that opens the floodgates for tons of new puzzles. But not only does Yuga have this power first, he can do a lot more with it. The first battle with Yuga is an interesting one. At any time, he can jump into a wall, becoming a hieroglyphic impervious to all of your silly 3-dimensional attacks. Like Link, he can then slide around on the 2D plane of the wall, reappearing somewhere else in the room. Unlike Link, Yuga can also use his powers to transform others into paintings, and unless they have a magical bracelet like Link, they are rendered completely motionless. Unfortunately, Yuga's personality is about as flat as his paintings. He obsesses over beauty, and collects the 7 sages as art pieces in his vague plan to unlock a deeper power and bring his vision of beauty to the world. Without spoiling too much, this guy's view of beauty is a little inverted from most.
I.e. warped.
And judging by his painting style, he would probably really enjoy the storybooks that Nico makes in Phantom Hourglass. I don't mean to harp on this, he serves his purpose well enough, but it's hard to listen to him without pining for better villains like Xantor Girin. Still, his use of the paint transfiguration is pretty inventive. He can make multiple images of himself when wall skating to confuse Link, he can make explosions or lightning shoot out of the walls, he can create handy frames to take his captive portraits with him, and he even went so far as to vandalize Hyrule Castle with images of soldiers that spring to life when Link draws near. And as you'll see by the end of the game, he ends up achieving more than most Zelda villains. This is one case where the pen was almost mightier than the sword.
Keyword almost. So yeah, looks like he actually did take care of that Triforce. So looks like he only got power, just like Ganon. Makes the question, is he that universe's Ganon? Oh, same hairstyle, same transformation. Wouldn't be surprised. Anywho, we're down to the final 3, so let's see who's topping the painters list. Let's see. Number 3.
Our next entry probably got a higher rank than it deserved. There are people who are way better at this game than me, and some of them may shake their heads in disappointment at me, but for number 3, I listed a Pokemon. Meet Smeargle.
Oh,
Smeargle is a dog-like biped with a brush-like tail. It uses that tail to mark its territory, or to creatively express itself. It's basically the Jackson Pollock of the Pokeverse. It's not very useful in competitive play due to its abysmally low base stats, which are worse than most non-evolving Pokemon in the game, even lower than Dunsparce, Delibird, Lovedisk, and Spinda.
Yeah,
but Smeargle carves out its own niche with its own one-of-a-kind move, Sketch. By observing and sketching other Pokemon in battle, Smeargle can permanently copy an enemy's attack. How does that work? I'm not entirely sure. The Pokedex never explains it, and I don't think it ever came up in the anime. But holy Arceus is it useful, since it basically allows him to learn any moveset in the game, combining any 4 moves you want for your own specialized, if poorly statted little oddball. You want to use him as a support? Give him Dragon Dance or Magic Coat with Baton Pass. Need some entry hazards? All manner of spikes and stealth rocks are at his disposal. You want to build a level 1 sweeper that can take out half the team on his own? Grab Trick Room, Endeavor, Spore, and something to take out those pesky ghost types. Smeargle can also have the ability Own Tempo, which makes him immune to confusion. One combination I enjoyed was Belly Drum to overbuff his attack stat, Spore to keep the enemy snoozing, Roost to heal up, and Thrash, a high damage full accuracy stab move that, thanks to Own Tempo, won't confuse him. There's also the old Lock-On Sheer Cold combo for some easy one-hit KOs. Smeargle can even copy moves normally reserved for legendaries, including Heat Swap, Aeroblast, Roar of Time, Sacred Fire, Spatial Rend, Psy Strike, Doom Desire, Fusion Flare, Fusion Bolt, Oblivion Wing, and Judgment. The Divine Wrath of the Pokemon God is just another smudge on Smeargle's palette, if only he had the stats to make use of it. Now granted, no one Smeargle will be able to achieve all of this, but the true wonder of Smeargle is this potential. Catching a Smeargle is a blank canvas, waiting to be decorated with whatever ridiculous set you can come up with. Enjoy!
Pretty much. I mean, in a way, it makes sense, you know, adaptive painting, I guess. Number 2?
Last week we examined the villain that made Final Fantasy VI such a masterpiece, but Kefka alone wouldn't have made the story great. The plot needed equally compelling heroes to balance out the scoundrel, and Final Fantasy VI had over a dozen lovable protagonists. The youngest of the squadron is a 10-year-old girl named Relm Aroni, and she's arguably the most useful in the game. When the heroes visit the town of Thamasa, they consult with Relm's miserly grandpa Strago, only for Relm to tag along on the dangerous journey without permission. She brings along a sketch pad and keeps innocently asking if she can draw people's pictures. When the mollusk monster Ultros attacks for the umpteenth time, Relm wins him over with her innocent demeanor and gets him to pose for a portrait. A likeness so accurate that it literally springs to life and knocks the real Ultros upside the head. From then on, Relm can aid the party with her sketch ability, allowing her to choose any enemy, create a living copy of them, and duplicate an ability or attack. After experimenting for a while, you'll find some great uses for this. How Relm has this power is never explicitly stated, but it should be noted that, while any character can basically learn any spell through the use of Magicite, Relm has the highest magic stats of all of her traveling companions. So it might just be her latent magical aptitude being expressed through deadly caricatures, like if you cross Hermione Granger with Thomas Nast. Her chances of successfully sketching an enemy scales with her level. If her level matches the enemy, she will always successfully sketch them, and if she's wearing the beret, she only needs to be half the subject's level to copy them without fail. There's also an item that changes the sketch command to control, allowing Relm to directly overtake her target, but I was never quite sure if this still involved painting. However, the best examples of Relm's power come in story segments. Her brush is extremely deadly, and everyone around her knows it. On several occasions, Relm uses this to take charge of a situation through sheer intimidation, and it's pretty funny to see this bubbly little girl suddenly lock eyes with Strago or Ultros until they back down. I won't even get into her background with Shadow and Interceptor. My favorite Relm moment is one that is actually nearly fatal to the rest of the party. After
Also,
Kefka's apocalypse, an art collector happens upon a magicite shard containing the goddess Lakshmi, and is suddenly compelled to create a painting of her. So he hires Realm. When Celeste and the gang find Realm, she is in a trance working on this beautiful mural, which is not only as intoxicatingly beautiful as Lakshmi herself, but is being possessed by the demon Chadarnuk. This painting becomes a pretty interesting boss. It projects itself and switches forms between the offensive demon and the beautiful goddess, the latter of which can hypnotize the party with her magnificent grace and throws out deadly counterattacks when struck. Seriously, a 10-year-old made that. Man, I'm glad she's usually on our side.
Yeah, no kidding. Make sure to never piss her off, otherwise you might be dealing with whatever demon she draws up next. Anyway, the number 1 painter is...
Entries 2 and 3 share a trait. They use paint to copy things that they see, forming their personal experiences into a well-tempered arsenal. I like that about these two, because it follows a rather Shakespearean ideal. To paraphrase, the bard states that art exists as a mirror to truth, emphasizing the truths that the artist wishes to communicate. I could better enunciate that point, but number 1 is a little different. Her art doesn't imitate the world. It creates and shapes it.
Yep.
All hail the sun goddess, Amaterasu. Like Madai, you could possibly call foul on this, since she uses calligraphy ink. But even if she isn't using paint, she is quite certainly painting. Amy has a few melee weapons she uses in battle, a reflector, prayer beads, and a big sword, but her true weapon is a celestial brush. Being called to Nippon without any of her memories, the White Wolf and her diminutive friend Isun set out to learn the 13 celestial brush techniques from 13 divine guardians in the process of saving ancient Japan. I had to do some thinking about how this worked in-universe, since you rarely see Amy with an actual brush in her hands. Pause. Teeth.
You know what I mean.
So for a while I thought it was Isun who was actually doing the painting, since he is a traveling artist. But he constantly remarks how good Amy is at the techniques, so what gives? Well, this gets into a huge fantasy concept that I'll try to break down. Why is Okami presented in this art style? Is it because it looks cool? Well, yes, but think of it this way. Amaterasu is a god, and you are playing the game as her. Her physical form is that of a white wolf, yes, but her holy spirit actually extends outside of the mammalian flesh. We are seeing the game through that point of view. And to a god who is nearly all-powerful, the entire world is like a painting, and she is the artist. Amaterasu's influence is limited to nature, so what you can actually do is limited, but when you stop to paint and the whole screen becomes a piece of paper, that's also Amy, astrologically painting over the world to change it as she sees fit. That's why Isun, even though he learns all of the techniques with you, can never match up. He's not a god. And man does Amy have a lot of powers with this. Let's lay it all out. She can just cover enemies or people with ink, and her mastery of nature lets her dot the landscape with flowers, create lily pads and trees, use vines to grapple onto things, and she can even use bloom to bring life to dead blossoms. She can manipulate fire, redirect lightning, guide the water, and spread frigid ice. She can learn techniques for a big elemental explosion. She can make the wind blow in the direction of her choosing, or affect certain walls so that she can run up them. She can slash the air, repair broken structures like bridges, and probably the weirdest, she can summon cherry bombs of various sizes. Even time is under this goddess's paw. At any time, she can make the sun or the moon come out, which will even cause the day to skip ahead 12 hours if necessary, and using Veil of Mist, she can slow time to a crawl. With all this power, versatility, and sheer charm, Amaterasu would have clinched this one already. But just to push her into the stratosphere where no one can argue her supremacy, this canine saves Japan and countless citizens, rids the world of darkness, puts Orochi in his place 3 times, and goes toe-to-toe with Yami, the very essence of evil, primarily by painting pretty pictures. Amy, I know there wasn't exactly a ton of competition for this countdown, but when it comes to battle painting, you're the master. I'm the Green Scorpion, and I'll see you guys next time.
See you around. I mean, makes sense. I mean, when comparing all of them, like, you really can't do more better than, well, you know, the freaking wolf god who can paint to your death, I guess. Hold on a second. Just had to double check things. Anyway, so there you go, the Battle Painters with Amaterasu taking the top spot. Let me know what you guys think, and until next time, like, subscribe for more. See ya!